Hello MouseWorks fans, and welcome to another edition of Modeling News Around the World. And the news for this week is pretty short, but basically the world's largest aircraft ever made has taken flight, and hopefully there'll be some pictures showing right here. And it is a monster. It is even bigger than the Spruce Goose. So sorry Howard Hughes, he's turning in his grave because this thing is bigger than that on wingspan. So it's made, has a double fuselage and 6 engines, and it is supposed to be made for a assist for rockets to be launched into the outer atmosphere and into space, and sort of like the Virgin Atlantic systems, and just a lot bigger. So with any luck, someone will do a model of this monster. I would hate to see how big it would be in 1/144th, considering how big a 747 model is in that scale. But then again, we have 32nd scale B-24s and B-17s, so wouldn't put it past the company. So, but just a neat milestone in the aviation history. So that's about it for MouseWorks news. And next up is future kit releases. Welcome MouseWorks fans to future kit releases for this week, and there's a few of them I've got on my sheet this week. Not a whole bunch, but some interesting subjects. So let's start out with the first one is a TACOM Jag Panther 35th scale G1, and it will have Zimmerit on it, pre-molded, which looks really nice. It looks pretty random, so it looks like it's hand applied. Looks like a good kit. The other part of that is they are going to release a Panther, I believe it's without Zimmerit, but on a rail car. It comes with a flatbed rail car in the kit from another company, and that's going to look really nice. Something a little different. It's kind of nice these companies are trying to make stuff for the modeler instead of people having to piece together this and that from everywhere. They're actually coming out with some interactive parts, like with what TACOM did with the V2 and the crane. So that'll be kind of interesting on that Jag Panther. The next one up is Kitty Hawk. Is as I've said in some of the other reports, they're doing 35th scale Black Hawk series helicopters, and they actually have released the Black Hawk. It's out there on the market, not badly priced. Should be a pretty neat model. I haven't seen any reviews of it yet, haven't got my hands on one yet. But I had talked before on one of the other programs about the Ocean Hawk, which I was not sure whether that was going to have the lamp system on it for the early Seahawk. And now it looks like they're actually going to split the kit. They've announced that they're going to do a Ocean Hawk and a Seahawk. So an HH-60B Seahawk will be coming out with the lamp system and everything on it. Has a bunch of different decal sets, some really nice looking box art. I mean, it's beautiful. And hopefully that'll be out pretty soon. Hopefully they will get out the Nighthawk and the they got the Black Hawk out and the Nighthawk, and then get to the Seahawk. So people have been waiting for that for a while. Next up, Talieri is doing something a little different in 72nd scale. They have a what they call Pegasus Bridge set. It's in 1/72nd scale, comes with a bunch of figures and vehicles. But what's interesting about this is the bridge itself is made out of laser cut either wood or what they call industrial cardboard, which is kind of like wood. And it might be in color. The early test shots are just of a cut, what looks like wood color. So but it's kind of interesting. It's something that they've been doing in Europe a lot, is laser cut buildings and so forth for railroads and railways. So this is their first adventure into scale modeling. So hopefully it'll be a trend. They're actually, those laser cut systems actually look pretty nice, especially the pre-printed industrial cardboard ones. So we'll see what happens with that. That's it about for the future kit releases. So next up is new kit review. Alright, MouseWorks fans, it's time for the new kit review, and for this issue we are going to do a kit review of the Revell's new Ford GT Le Mans 2017. This is the American boxing. The kit has also been boxed from Revell of Germany, which is in a flat box, much larger but flat. I didn't expect it to come out in this type boxing, but it did, so that's nice. Same picture on both of them. So this one's the same type of box as most model car kits come in. So anyways, got great front box art here. Side here gives information of the length and number of parts, 88, so it's fairly simple. And there's some pictures of the assembled kit, painted up and all. And that one there for ages 12 plus, skill level 4. Alrighty, so excited about this one. It's going to be quite a challenge on the paint job, but I'll open the box and we'll take a look. Alrighty, so first of all, there's a lot of parts in that small box. It was packed. So we'll go from the first bag, which actually had the body in it. And very interesting, this is a two-piece body. One piece stacks on the top of the other one and goes down the side. That should hopefully make it easier to build and actually easier to paint, since some of these are actually the lines of the colors. So very unique vehicle. Body looks really good. Nice deep panel lines, a little bit wide, but hopefully that'll fill in with layers of paint. There's a few mold marks here that just need to be cleared off here and around the front and so forth, but otherwise looks pretty sharp. Windshield wiper is separate, or I mean not separate, and be interesting to compare this one to the Tamiya kit, and if Tamiya will actually come out with one in the racing livery. Next up is some of the clear parts. So not quite sure what was in this big area here, but it's just not there anymore. And looks like headlight covers and some tail light clear lenses there. Nice and clear, which is nice. Now this is interesting. These pieces are actually have the black masking already painted on them, so they're pre-painted, which is going to save a lot of headache. A lot of time, so those look pretty good. Nice and clear again, nicely bagged. I mean, they made sure that these did not rub against each other. I mean, they could have put a couple of these together, but they chose not to, which kept them nice and clean and clear, so kudos to them for that. Next up is Runner E, and these have some of the disc brakes and some of the exhaust system. I know these companies, the Revell tries to keep these things cheap, but I wish they'd go just a little bit better on the detail, about the level of a Fujimi kit. I know it would make them more expensive, but I think a kit like this would deserve something like that. So some sink marks in the exhaust pipe, so those will have to be filled. Separate pulley and belts there. That's kind of nice, instead of being molded on the engine parts. Okay, looks like Runner G has the engine block on it, which looks pretty nice. Little soft on the detail. I mean, it's not, again, crisp as a Fujimi or a Tamiya, but again, it's just not the same price. I'm sure somebody will come out with some aftermarket parts, including a resin engine, which would be nice if you want to go that far. And some of the struts here for the suspension A-arms, basically. And there's a missing piece here. I sure hope it was floating around in the bag, because I'm not sure what that is, but it's gone. Okay, this one here is F. Looks like some radiator grills, some parts of the engine, the lower engine, and some of the ducting. A little bit of flash, not too bad. And the belly pan here, That one actually looks really nice. It actually, these scribings look very nice compared to these scribings. It's almost like two different companies actually worked on these parts. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But this one's definitely a different, cut by a different hand. So, interesting there. Okay, next one up here, we've got the interior of the cabin, and this is all the telemetry equipment and some of the measuring devices and so forth of the race car. And the radiator system here. That would be nice if it was an upper grade kit with the photo etch, but I'm sure someone will do a photo etch kit for this. Next up is the frame, and looks fairly clean. There's some flash here and there that's going to take some cleanup. Nice that it's all one piece, that way it's straight. Looks like it is slide molded, so it actually has dimension to it. That's actually a really nice piece. Doesn't look like much sinkholes except on the inside of the rearview mirrors, which shouldn't matter. If it gives you mirrors to go in there, I hope so. That's one thing this kit does not have, is any chrome. Okay, next up we got some tires. Looks like some slicks, no printing on the side. Look pretty nice. Next up is the rims. These ones actually look pretty good. They've molded them pretty cleanly. They may need just maybe a little bit of cleanup. I'm sure there's tons of other wheels, separate wheels from Fujimi and some other companies that you can get that would be a little bit finer detail on that, but those aren't too bad. Next up, the racing seat, which is nice that it has the harness holes already molded open, so that's pretty neat. But the back really looks crummy. Big old knockout pin, and I don't know, it's just going to take a lot of cleanup because that actually is going to be visible in the vehicle. So some work there. And the dashboard area there, a little soft again, needs a little cleanup, but not too bad. For a $30 kit, we're not doing too bad so far. Here's some of the tail lights molded in red, so you don't have to do anything with those. Again, separately bagged, that's very nice. Okay, some axle rods, metal there. And that looks like about it. I better double check those bags when I open them, because that one runner was missing a piece. And I didn't see anything in the bags, but we'll double check those. Instructions, black and white. Typical Revell instructions. Actually, well, better than the normal car kits. So these must be a result of Revell Germany working to, or which is now basically Germany or Revell. And looks like they've been doing some good work on layouts here. Very clear. Very detailed, so it's very hard to actually get something upside down or the wrong way. Dotted lines are very clear, so that's nice. Not too many parts together on one page. The framing, steering wheel, so forth, looks like that goes together pretty quick and easy. This should be a pretty easy build if you're just building it straight out of the box. Some of the exhaust system here. And yeah, they're showing basically if you have to flip a part or use parts on the other side. It does also give you painting instructions, what looks like these little parts right here, or these numbers here. And then it gets into the detail of the actual paint job here, which is kind of nice. They actually show where and how to mark the lines. So that's nice. Putting in the windows, and then top to the chassis, and then some back pieces, some final detail pieces. And then a black and white color guide, I guess you could call it. Shows all the numbers and so forth, and what decals and things like that. There are different racing numbers, 66, 68, 69. Wish that was color. It just would be nice, better looking guide. There's the side there too. Yeah, I'm just used to armor kits that have all their profiles are color. So that's the instructions. Not too bad on the instructions. And this is the best part of the whole kit. And of course that is the decals, which make the kit. And those look really nice. You can see it's Revell GmbH, so it is all one company, even through Revell Germany. Look fairly thin. I mean, they're thick enough that the white is not transparent, so the white should show up as white, not be affected by the paint underneath. Really sharp looking, so I'm really impressed with that. Perfect register. Looks real good. So I'll do some close-ups for you, but otherwise that is the new kit review. And next up we will do model techniques. Okay, pros and cons, final review on this kit out of the box. Pros, very nice box art. The kit decals are absolutely excellent. The instruction sheet is not too bad, looks pretty good and easy to follow. Cons, a couple of them, little soft detail. Again, a cheaper kit, but the detail is a little bit soft. Knockout pins, things on back side of pieces that are exposed like the seat, not a good thing. All the mold lines coming around the edge, most car models have them. This one's a little more severe than others. Another con, the door seals and the scribing panels, pretty wide. Whether that will close up with the paint, I'm not sure. It might a little bit. Wheels, kind of halfway between pro and con. A little bit of flash, but not too bad. The biggest con is I looked in all the bags that all these parts came out of, and that little A-arm is nowhere to be found. And I just taken it out of the bag and set the bags aside. So that part fell off before it was even bagged, which I really hate about this plastic, and that's why I do not like the way model car kits are manufactured for the US market. They just make most car kits really budget priced, brittle plastic and things like that, where they just fall off and tear. The biggest problem, I got to return this now. I can't even start this because of that missing part. I got to return the whole car, or wait till they get another one, wait 2 or 3 weeks until they get another one, and exchange the parts. So not real happy about that. So quality control, not good. So if you're going to buy this kit, remember you're getting what you pay for. Check the kit to make sure nothing broke off, but not too happy about that. Revell, not too happy. Alright, for this model building techniques, I'm going to show a couple different ways to do wood grain. And in scale, this will be a 35th scale part. This one comes off of the Rolls-Royce armored car from Tacom, or from Ming, I'm sorry. And basically, I mean, a lot of people know how to do the oil paints where they actually put the oil dots and then streak it to make it look like wood grain, which actually works pretty good, but you still want a little three-dimensional pieces, so it actually looks like there's actually slices in the wood. So basically the first technique is going to be pretty simple, and it sounds simple, but it does take a little skill to do it right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece here, and I'm going to actually use my razor saw. This is a razor saw with the very, very fine teeth. I believe it's 42 teeth per inch. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape the plastic, but I'm only going to use this front edge instead of just going across the whole thing. It doesn't seem to work. You always miss parts. So I'm going to use this first maybe 1/4 inch and use that, and I'm going to find a point where the grain will start, and I'm just going to go across and then move my way down. And you can be pretty firm with the pressure on this. And it doesn't matter how many times you go over it, because it'll just push in more grain into the grain you have. So, and the other thing I like to do is actually go from the other side so I can get all the way to the edge. And if you want to get it kind of crazy, you don't have to do it straight across. You can actually go sideways to get it look like the grain is not quite straight. So once that's done, and then you want to do the small parts here, the small areas here. Now if it's too small to get in there and it's too much of a pain, you can actually use the back side of your X-Acto knife and just scribe. Just make sure you don't do it, you do it randomly, and you don't make it look like just lines. And you can do your wood grain that way. So once that's done, you can feel there's quite a bit of grain there, which might be kind of weird looking in that scale. So I'm going to take a medium sanding stick, and I'm just going to sand it down a bit here, which gets rid of that the plastic that was raised way high. And then I'm going to just take my electric toothbrush here and just clean out the grain. Okay. Now that will actually show quite a bit of grain. Looks really nice when you paint it, especially if you use oil paints and streak them. The other thing you can do, if you don't like it as pronounced, you can actually coat it with model cement, liquid cement, like this Tamiya extra thin cement. You just go over the top of it, and it'll melt that plastic and give you just a really fine grain. Then let that dry, and then take a look at it, maybe prime it, see if it's the way you like it. So the other technique here is, if I was doing, say, this as a board, this is just regular sheet styrene. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Tamiya gray putty and put a little bit in my palette. You can see I've been using quite a bit of it. And I'm going to take my Tamiya extra thin cement that I use for thinning putty. I have this specifically dedicated to doing that. And I'm going to thin out the putty with a junky kind of brush here. Get it just so it flows smooth. You don't have to have it really thin. And I'm going to just brush the piece of plastic here with the thinned out putty. And then before it dries, you have a little bit of time, but this stuff dries pretty quick. I do the same thing I did to the other one, and I'm going to actually take my knife and just score it. This I want to do this just one pass, maybe a couple. Okay. Then we'll let that dry, and you'll actually have quite a bit of wood grain, a little bit more pronounced than using the knife on just styrene. So I will do some close-ups of that, but that's a couple ways to do wood grain. Give it a try. It actually adds a lot of life to your models. Okay, and here's a little sample of the oil paint technique. Now this is just scribed board. It's not been textured or anything like that. So basically what I've done is this one right here I painted with just a tan, to me a buff to be exact, and then just hand brushed it, let it dry, and then I put different drops of and spots of oil paints, tube oil paints. I used burnt umber, raw sienna, and raw umber, and like a lighter yellow, and I just made dots all over the place, and then just took a big fan brush similar to this one here. This one actually has some cuts in it, so it actually worked a little more randomly, and I just brushed it, soaked it in thinner, and I just brushed it back and forth and back and forth until it actually got kind of streak looking. And then I'll let it dry, which it actually changes color, it lightens up after it dries, so it actually looks like it's all blended together, but once it dries it separates, or it looks like it separates. And then to add a little bit of uniqueness, I actually covered this over. You can kind of see right here, this is actually covered with a Tamiya mix of Tamiya yellow clear and orange clear, probably about 75% orange and or yellow, and then 25% orange, and then thin it out a little bit, and then just brush it over the top, which kind of made it look like a shellac to it, and warmed up the color. You can also see here I tried it to look like rotted wood. I used actually a green, put some greens and blues in dots, and then streak that, and then put the orange and yellow over the top of that. And this is just the straight oil paint itself. You can kind of see the streaks. With a wider brush, just single strokes with nothing else on it. So anyways, there's a few ways to do wood grain. Alrighty, MouseWorks fans, welcome to a new tool. And for this week, I'm going to use a new device that I got out of Japan from a company called Gianotes, or Gianotes. And what it is a, looks like a mechanical pencil, which actually it started life out as, I'm guessing. But what it has in here is these are actually a square piece of stone that has abrasive on it. So this is actually a micro sanding stick, and it's square, and basically you can extend it just like a mechanical pencil and retract it the same way. If it breaks off, you don't want to have it too far out there so it breaks off. They're fairly strong, but, and then basically they're made just so you can go in and, you know, sand a little area that you can't normally get to. And they it's actually pretty good abrasive. It's a real stone, and I don't know if you can kind of see it's actually sanding there. And it's really neat as it comes with a bunch of different grades here. So there's 3 different grades, and sharp idea, you know, really smart idea. They took a mechanical pencil and they made a micro sander out of it. What's nice is they actually did them square. That way you can actually get in corners of something that has a 90-degree corner and make it straight. It would be kind of cool if they came out with round ones as well, or maybe they have in Japan. I just don't know about them. So anyways, that is this week's new tool. Hard to get, but very unique. And thanks for watching. Alrighty, it's bonus video time, and for this week I've got in the works video of what's on the bench. And I probably would have had that Rolls-Royce vehicle here, but it is now smashed into 100 pieces. So anyways, this is the T90 that I've been working on. I had this on one of the other videos. It is pretty much completely finished except for sanding out some of the barrel. Tons and tons of little detail on that turret. I mean, that was pretty amazing. This thing's got like 1,500 parts or more. take a little effort, but it was definitely well worth it with all that good stuff. Did replace this tube back here with a piece of brass tube, so I didn't have to flatten it, and it worked out pretty good. So very happy with that. And as usual, I appreciate all the support, and be sure to go by mouseworks.com for all of my materials and model tools and stuff to help you build. And got a few different types of items. These are my sanding sticks here, but this is how I support the channel. So please come and visit, and I appreciate all the support, and I will see you next time. So keep on building.